Karis Nemik holds up two guides halfway through this scene, one in each hand, a vintage Starpath unit and a small notebook. Cassian's only really interested in one of these, or so he thinks. His reaction is probably the first time we've seen him enthusiastic about anything. He dampens it fast, but he nerds out, basically. And it makes sense, he's a pilot with a keen interest in ships and keeping off the Empire's radar, and you can't really be raised on Ferrix without becoming a massive geek about parts, gadgets and tools. Cassian has lived his whole life by systems that get you out of trouble and the hard-earned knowledge of what still works when the shiny stuff isn't safe. This thing looks like a 1970s Polaroid camera with the casing removed, but I don't think the prop is one because this bad boy collapses into a nondescript metal rectangle. A Starpath model that can't be jammed, can't be intercepted, can't be switched off by some bloke at a console somewhere, and can be repaired by the person using it feels like an escape plan made solid. The notebook, by comparison, feels like baggage, ideas, unfinished sentences, the kind of thing that slows you down. Cassian treats the Starpath as a guide because it points away from danger, but Nemik sets them up as an equal pair. You need both. One charts an astral path, the other maps a trail of political consciousness. Cassian only trusts one of these maps. The notebook instead points through danger, into responsibility, into meaning. Nemik's pitch is all engineering without romance. Reliability, repairability, independence from Imperial infrastructure. No remote hand on the throat. The Empire's technological dominance shows up here in a very specific form. Dependency disguised as convenience. People rely on systems they can't audit, can't fix, don't fully understand, probably have to license and register, and therefore can't truly own. Nemik is describing freedom as competence, something learned and maintained. It's not a default, it takes work. As a great singer once put it, freedom isn't free. The rebels themselves are performing maintenance throughout this scene, airing stolen Imperial uniforms, building fires, carrying milk pails. Necessary daily work. With the Starpath, hard to learn becomes the point rather than a drawback. Difficulty creates sovereignty. Mastery creates freedom. What Nemik is really arguing against isn't just Imperial surveillance, it's enforced dependency. That logic should feel familiar. Increasingly, we're pushed away from owning capability and towards subscribing to it. Renting computation instead of buying machines is going to be our future. Relying on opaque systems that think for us, decide for us, and gradually train us out of competence altogether. Convenience becomes the sales pitch. Dependency is the outcome. The Starpath matters because it breaks that loop, and in a world drifting towards permanent subscription, planned obsolescence and remote permission, owning a tool you can understand and repair stops being nostalgic and starts being quietly radical. Cassian listens to Nemik's speech, but I don't think he learns anything new. He recognizes the device immediately. I don't know if we get any contrary or supporting evidence later, but I would expect Cassian probably knows how to use the Starpath, if not to the level of expertise that Nemik does. Skeen turns the conversation toward politics, half mocking Nemik's worldview and half testing Cassian's reaction. Nemik explains that he sees the Empire as a machine that doesn't merely commit atrocities but commits them at a speed that scrambles comprehension. As he puts it, the pace of oppression outstrips our ability to understand it. He's talking about a weapon designed to blunt comprehension. People don't have time to process anything that happens. They lose the thread. They stop holding a coherent picture of what's happening. They react, then react again, until reaction becomes a lifestyle. At that point, the Empire doesn't even need to hide. Volume does the hiding for them. 40 outrages blur into the weather. I don't need to say it, you all share the same world with me. This is the one we've been living in for the last decade or so. Some people say it started with the death of Harambe in 2016, but personally I feel that the 2012 London Olympics was the last time the world felt truly normal. Steve Bannon called it flooding the zone. Every time I look at the news, the richest and most powerful people in the world have said something else dangerous and deranged, while the pace and scale of terrible events and insurmountable problems has reached such a fever pitch that we're all numbed, shell-shocked. What can we do to make the world better? Honestly, probably not much, and maybe nothing, so what's the point? That's how the Empire wants you to feel. That's part of what the manifesto is designed to fight, not ignorance but noise. It's a map for attention. It slows the world down. It rebuilds a chain of sense, what happens, why it happens, and what it adds up to, inside a world designed to keep everything feeling isolated and random. Nemik talks about writing the way he talks about the Starpath as a tool for navigation under hostile conditions. He's building something repairable in a different sense, a framework you can carry, revise, expand, and keep using even while the Empire shakes the galaxy to loosen everyone's grip on basic truth. I will analyze the manifesto itself separately, but I love that there's a shared theme of remembering between the two items, remembering how to navigate without their systems, and remembering how to think clearly inside the noise those systems create. A note on Skeen: I can't back this up with anything yet, it's just a gut feel thing from his tone and their interactions so far, but I think Skeen cares for Nemik, which is notable because I think this guy don't care for no one. His comments are sarcastic banter on the outside, but he likes the kid. I don't recall specifics of upcoming events, but I am intrigued to see if we ever see Skeen protective of Nemik in the heat of the moment. Despite his words, I think he both does trust him and is quite taken with the manifesto too. This is where Cassian's undecided voter value shows up. Undecided and non-voters win elections when made to care. Cassian hates the Empire, he knows what he's against. The posture is incredibly common in real politics and incredibly awkward for movements because it's useful and unreliable at the same time. It produces bodies, skills, and momentum without producing certainty. Nemik calling Cassian his ideal reader could mean a few things. The rebellion needs people who can act before their worldview is fully formed. It needs people who don't require the psychological comfort of a creed in order to do something dangerous. Nemik views this lack of pretense as a sign of a trustworthy reader. Cassian is the ideal reader because he will test Nemik's ideas against the harshness of reality. And finally, can this undecided voter be transformed through a powerful message into someone who's going to fight for something for once? Towards the end of the scene, Skeen tells Cassian to finish his milk, and it reads like a friendly direction until you see the trap. Cassian gagged upon trying it, but he kept it in his hands for the last 5 minutes. Why? He is a pragmatist, he needs the calories and intended to drink the foul stuff. But he's a proud man, he refuses to be made obedient in public. Is more attempted masculine dominance by Skeen. Cassian looks like he's doing what Skeen tells him if he drinks it, so he pours it out. It's an insidious passive-aggressive move by Skeen who gets a result either way. Cassian won't be sustained as he could have been walking into a day that demands stamina, and the dominance game has been played without any overt aggression and with full deniability. In terms of Cassian's greater interest in one map than the other, in the short term his instincts are right. A Starpath device that can't be jammed represents survival. It represents routes, exits, operational competence, the kind of freedom Cassian already believes in. In the longer term, the words become part of how he starts to organize the world in his head, part of how he moves from against to something more deliberate. One keeps him alive, the other changes what alive is for. And once the manifesto's ideas escape the notebook, once they can be carried by other voices, other minds, maybe they stop being private comfort and become part of the galaxy's bloodstream. That's the bait and switch at the heart of the scene. Nemik offers a repairable device and a repairable galaxy. Cassian recognizes the first immediately. The second takes him much longer. The scene is the moment both guides enter his life. One device calculates the distance between planets, while the other closes the distance between a mercenary and a martyr.